They're trying to co-opt the Democratic base by screaming racism and playing identity politics. So then when you mention the term identity politics, then I have somebody on Twitter saying identity politics equals civil rights. No, it doesn't. Identity politics equals civil rights. So I'm abusing Kamala Harris and black people's civil rights by reporting publicly available information about who she's taken money from? Is there zero accountability because you're a woman candidate or you're a black candidate? Should their record not be challenged? Should their record not be looked at if they want to run for president? And by the way, I'm all for her running for president. Go for it. Run for president. Nobody's here is saying she can't run for president. I think it's great when all women or all men, whoever wants to run for president. But it's disingenuous to reflexively notice I'd say 99% of the attacks I got on Twitter today, like actual attacks, actually pointed out anything that would debunk what I'm saying. None of it was about, well, she might have taken money from Wall Street, but look at this great thing she did against Wall Street. And by the way, to her defense, she did vote against deregulating Wall Street. Remember, there were 16 Democrats in last year, 16 Senate Democrats that voted with the Republicans to help deregulate Wall Street, to help those small community banks. In reality, the help that the small community banks were getting, meaning less regulation on them, the big banks got too. So she voted against that. But how do we know why she's voting for these things? How do we know why she's voting for, why she now supports Medicare for all, why she now has a ban on taking corporate PACs, why she voted on deregulating the banks? How do we know that it wasn't because she decided to run for president a long time ago? And if you just become a senator in 2017, and 6 months after that, you're meeting in the Hamptons. If you don't know, the Hamptons are where really, really rich, wealthy people go over the summer here on Long Island to meet with Hillary Clinton's top donors. Do you think they met to, smoke a joint, listen to Bob Marley, and talk about the dream of Medicare for all? I don't think so. So here's the other thing about Kamala Harris. I'm sorry to be racist, but she never really explained why she didn't prosecute Steve Mnuchin, Trump's Treasury Secretary, when she was the California Attorney General. She had an opportunity. I mean, if you're not familiar with the story, former California Attorney General Kamala Harris on Wednesday vaguely acknowledged the Intercept report about her declining to prosecute Steve Mnuchin's One West Bank for foreclosure violations in 2013, and she offered no explanation. Quote, "It's a decision my office made," she said in response to questions from the Hill shortly after being sworn in as California's newest senator. Quote, "We went and we followed the facts and the evidence, and it's a decision my office made." Quote, "We pursued it just like any other case. We go and we take a case wherever the facts lead us." Mnuchin is Trump's nominee to run the Treasury and served as CEO of One West from 2009 to 2015. In an internal memo published on Tuesday by The Intercept, prosecutors at the California Attorney General's office said they had found over 1,000 violations of foreclosure laws by his bank during that time. So let me get this straight. Prosecutors at the California Attorney General's office said they had found over 1,000 violations of foreclosure laws by his bank during that time and predicted that further investigation would uncover many thousands more. But she said, "We went and we followed the facts and the evidence, and it's a decision my office made." Well, apparently your office was telling you there's over 1,000 violations of foreclosure laws by his bank, and we would find many more, if we could investigate it. But the investigations into that memo called, quote, "widespread misconduct" was closed after Harris's office declined to file a civil enforcement action against the bank. Harris's statement on Tuesday doesn't explain how involved she was with the decision not to prosecute or why the decision was made. She also would not say whether the revelations would disqualify Mnuchin for the position of Treasury Secretary. Quote, "The hearings will reveal if it's disqualifying or not, but certainly he has a history that should be critically examined, as do all the nominees, Harris told The Hill. She added that she would review the background and history of all Trump cabinet nominees. Well, I don't want to speculate. But I have a guess why Kamala Harris didn't prosecute Steve Mnuchin, who, according to Kamala Harris's own Attorney General's staffers, said there was plenty of action to prosecute Steve Mnuchin. If you don't know, Steve Mnuchin, pretty well known on Wall Street. That's how Trump knew him. Pretty big reputation on Wall Street. So if Kamala Harris, as Attorney General, had eyes for the Senate, and if Kamala Harris knew, well, I want Wall Street, I'm going to need Wall Street's money to run, maybe it wouldn't be great to get Wall Street donations if, as California Attorney General, you prosecute one of Wall Street's big bankers. Is that such a departure? Maybe if I'm thinking as Attorney General, I'm going to run for Senate, and then if I run for Senate, I want Wall Street money, maybe I shouldn't prosecute Wall Street executives. And by the way, not only did she not prosecute Steve Mnuchin, Kamala Harris was the only Democrat Steve Mnuchin donated to. I mean, I'm just saying, why did Steve Mnuchin donate, I think it was $2,000, to Kamala Harris's Senate campaign? Can you explain that one to me? So Kamala Harris, she takes a lot of money from Wall Street. She takes a lot of money from big financial attorneys. She takes a lot of money from real estate. And, I think this article is very telling because it shows you what Kamala Harris actually thinks before she signed on with all the rest of these Johnny-come-lately progressives, before she signed on to the No Corporate PAC Money Pledge. Asked whether she'll accept corporate campaign contributions in the future, Senator Kamala Harris of California gave the, quote, wrong answer at a town hall in Sacramento last week. When an audience member wanted to know whether Harris, a possible 2020 candidate, would take campaign money from corporations or corporate lobbyists, the senator paused for a moment and replied, "It depends." Wrong answer, the man interjected, speaking for plenty of progressive voters in the Democratic Party base who detest corporate campaign cash. Quote, "Well," Harris said, "that's not the answer you want to hear. It doesn't make it wrong." After assuring the man that she appreciated the reason he asked, Harris argued she's a, quote, open book when it comes to campaign contributions and invited him to look at her donations and, quote, draw your own conclusions about what has motivated me. Well, I am looking at your donations, and you're taking a lot of money from the financial industry. As far as I know, you're not for breaking up the big banks, which I think is a totally necessary policy, one that Senator Bernie Sanders is for, one that I believe Senator Elizabeth Warren has come around to. So you're not for breaking up the big banks. You're not for, as far as I know, reinstating Glass-Steagall, which, if anybody has followed the global financial crash, the repeal of Glass-Steagall in 1999 was pretty much the main first domino to go. So, I'm an open book. Well, I just read your book. I don't like what I see. And another important thing that people need to understand, and I think Bernie is going to have to explain this too, just because you only ban corporate PAC money doesn't mean you're not in bed with corporations. Beto O'Rourke is a perfect example of that. He has shunned corporate PAC money, yet I reported during the Texas Senate campaign he was doing fundraisers with fossil fuel lobbyists. He took donations from fossil fuel executives. Now, in fairness, Bernie Sanders has taken money from the industries, from the defense industry, right? So we got to keep it real. Bernie Sanders has taken money from individuals in the defense industry. Bernie Sanders, in his career, has also taken money from financial attorneys. However, I don't care if you take the money. I care if it informs and affects how you vote and the policies you push for. So, as far as I can tell, Bernie Sanders has taken money from individuals in the defense industry, and he voted against the Iraq War. Bernie Sanders has called for U.S. support to end for the Yemen war. Bernie Sanders has called for us to get out of Syria. Bernie Sanders has called for us to get out of Afghanistan. Bernie Sanders has taken on defense contractors publicly and in policy he has tried to propose. So Bernie Sanders taking money from individuals in the defense industry doesn't affect his policies, doesn't affect his actual votes. However, Cory Booker's taken a lot of money from Wall Street and big pharmaceutical companies. Maybe that's why he voted against importing cheaper drugs from Canada. Maybe that's why Cory Booker has voted to deregulate Wall Street several times. It's not about if you actually take money from industry. It's about, is it affecting the way you vote? So you don't think that Beto O'Rourke taking money from the fossil fuel industry, didn't affect his vote to offshore drilling? You don't think Beto O'Rourke taking money from fossil fuel companies didn't affect his vote to lift the cap on exporting oil? There was a decades-long cap on foreign exports of oil. That cap was lifted, and that's why you have all these pipelines exploding all over the country, because of people like Beto O'Rourke. You don't think Cory Booker taking God knows how much money, and I'm going to get to Cory Booker when he announces, you don't think Cory Booker taking money from Wall Street has anything to do with him voting to deregulate Wall Street? And by the way, he voted for bills and laws that help Big Pharma because Wall Street is heavily invested in pharmaceutical companies. It's all connected. So, you know what? Bernie Sanders, like I just said, he takes money from the defense industry. He has taken money from financial attorneys. However, look at his record. Look at the policies that he pushes. Look at what he votes for. If they're sending him money, then they're not leaving a great investment. If they're not smart investors, if they think leaving money with Bernie Sanders is going to mean policy choices. And that's what really drives me mad about these trolls and correct the record people. Like, they try to simplify and dumb everything down. So you're racist, you're sexist. How dumb are you to think that candidates like Kamala Harris, they're just taking money from Wall Street and Wall Street's just donating to them out of the kindness of their heart? They don't want anything back. They don't want anything back. I think, hey, Kamala Harris running for president, great. But you better be prepared to stand on your record. And honestly, I don't really want to hear, Kamala Harris deflecting questions about her record, that you're racist, that you're a Bernie bro, that you're sexist. This isn't about what you look like, Kamala Harris. This isn't about your gender, your race. It never has been with me, at least. And I don't know any Bernie Sanders supporters that have problems with Democratic establishment candidates because of their gender or their race. Nina Turner, by the way, is globally loved among progressives. She's a strong, progressive black woman. So I'm not going to back down. I'm going to continue reporting on Kamala Harris's record. And if they don't like it, too bad. Too bad.